On the first morning, I noticed her body felt really hot. She had a high fever close to 39 degrees. お熱あるね。喉は痛い？ご飯食べれそう？
食べない。
ア
イスなんで食べないの？
ね、風邪ひいてるときはね、甘いもの食べないの。甘いもの食べなかったらさ、早く治る。She had no appetite, so I gave her an orange, which she requested.
ママが食べさせてよ。
いいよ。
ここ座って。
At the beginning of her fever, if she doesn't want to eat, I don't force her. As long as she's drinking water, that's okay. 甘えてんの？
甘えてない。
I wanted her to drink ORS for better hydration, so I quickly made some 500 milliliters of water, 20 grams of sugar, 1.3 grams of salt, and squeeze some lemon to make it taste better. 마마노 나무 나자고.
슈퍼가.
슈퍼 같다.
응. 슈퍼는 야다. 아빠, 어찌 놓이대?
뭔가 이러이러設定変えてる. At night, her fever shot up to 40 degrees again. She was fussy, crying almost non-stop. When her hands and feet were cold, I knew her fever was still rising, so I kept her warm. Once the fever peaked, I dressed her in lighter clothes to help cool her down. On the second day, her temperature dropped to around 38 degrees. But she still had no appetite, so all she had was some strawberries and fluid. By evening, her fever went back up again. She kept saying no, but wouldn't tell me why. Cried and begged for candy. On the third day, she seemed a bit more willing to eat, so I made her our go-to rice porridge. Heat 200 milliliter water with some ginger, add 100 gram cooked rice, season it with 1.5 tablespoons shiro dashi, white dashi, I tear some tofu into pieces. Then pour in the beaten egg and cook until set.
Tofu?
오브다.
Yui-chan baby.
メイビーみたいなね。自分で食べれるんだよ。
食べれる。
そう。
あ、
はいはい。
もうはもうは。
まだおかわりある？
ごちそうさまでした。
はい。By late afternoon, her fever started rising again, and she was clearly losing energy, so I gave her some Tylenol.
苦くない？
やだ。
あら。じゃあさ、スプーンでちょっと飲んでみる？
やだ。
水に嫌だったのね。
She refused to sleep in bed and didn't want the lights off, so we ended up in this situation. She wouldn't leave my side. She still had her 38-degree fever in the morning, so I took her to the doctor to check if it was something more serious like an infection or ear inflammation. The doctor said everything looked fine and we should just keep monitoring her. If her fever didn't go down in 2 more days, we needed to come back.
頑張ったね、ゆいちゃんね。大泣きだったね。
そう。
うん、お薬最後飲ませてもらって、やだやだって大泣きだ。
やだよね、それはね。
お家のお薬がいい言ってた。
By the way, you can switch out the rice in the porridge recipe for udon noodles, which also tastes great. She had a runny nose, so I used nasal suction machine I brought from Japan. It works so well. By nighttime, her fever spiked again and she got fussy. The next day was supposed to be another hospital visit if the fever didn't go down, but when she woke up in the morning, her temperature was back to normal. Finally! I almost cried. Good job, Yui-chan, you made it! Finally, we got to cook together again after so long. During a fever, I mostly give her easy to digest herbs, but once she recovers, I make sure to load her up with vegetables. One of my garden methods is Japanese style vegetable potage. Even though my daughter doesn't usually like squash, she loves this potage.
邪魔しないでね。
してないじゃん。
The secret is how you layer the vegetable when cooking. I use this Kasaneni, a Japanese umami boosting technique that brings out natural sweetness and flavor with minimal seasoning.
かぼちゃはね、硬くって危ないから玉ねぎやってもらおうかな。
お手って臭くなっちゃうよ。
そっか。玉ねぎだとゆいちゃん泣いちゃうしね。
It's based on yin-yang balance of ingredients, but To keep it simple, put the vegetable with higher water content at the bottom.
ゆうちゃん
じゃあこの下に
Sprinkle some salt at the bottom of the pot.
いいの？
Layer from the bottom up, napa cabbage, squash,
ちょっと待ってあ、ゆいちゃん目痛くなっちゃうよああ大丈夫か
どうしてもやりたい。
どうしてもやりたいのね
お目目痛い。
お目目痛いよね
痛い。
うんパパ
食べない食べない食べない
ママの人参食べれるようになったね
美味しい
and carrot. Sprinkle a little more salt. Add water up to about half the height of the veggies. Let it simmer. Once everything cooked, blend it. If needed, adjust with chicken stock powder or salt. For adult, a little pepper is nice too.
どうぞおおお
いただきます。
ゆいちゃんがお手伝いしてくれたスープだよ白菜ちぎってくれたりさ人参切ってくれたね
玉ねぎも切ってくれたよ。
そうだよね
そしてね、痛いってなっちゃったよ。
そうだね
おいしい。
いいよありがとう
ごちそうさま。
After a while, a rash showed up all over her body, which I think was Roseola, a common illness that most kids get by around age 2. She also had some cold symptoms, so it was probably both at once. Maybe that's why it lasted so long. To celebrate her recovery, we had some Korean barbecue. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye!